Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about the new moon in Cancer on July 17th, 2023 at 11:31 a.m. This new moon is going to be at 24 degrees of Cancer, which I think is a very powerful degree. And I believe that this particular new moon has an influence like no other new moon that we've had in recent times. And I'll go on to explain my theory. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about some of the very karmic aspects that are happening during this new moon. There is a yod involved in this new moon, with the focal point being Venus. We have an opposition of the new moon to Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. The new moon is also trining Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And from what I have intuited in my meditations, as well as my questions to spirit are, where are we now? Are we in a state of actually building our dreams to come true? Or are we in a place where we need to protect our homes and our homeland? Cancer rules home. And Spirit has very much encouraged me that there is so much light that is being offered to us during these times. And yet there is a polarity, because some people, while they are in the physical apparatus, will fear the shifts that are happening right now. And all these shifts are giving us as individual souls inhabiting a physical experience an opportunity to play within the physical in ways we've never known, at least in historic times. It has been documented. Most of the human experience has been a series of imbalance, the haves and the have-nots, wartime or peacetime, feast or famine, as they say. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump in and start to talk about how this played out for me. When I was looking at the chart of the new moon, I noticed a yod. A yod is called the finger of God or the finger of fate. It is, in a natal chart, considered a point where the soul has chosen a specific task or mission within this lifetime. And the planets involved, usually the fastest moving planet is the focus, the focal point of the yod. And then we'll see two slower moving planets creating the arms of the yod. A yod is a very skinny triangle. It's composed of two quincunxes, or two inconjunctions, and then a sextile. Here, what we're going to see on the day of the new moon is Venus is stationing at 28 degrees of Leo, and she is the focal point of a yod between Pluto at 29 degrees, Pluto's retrograde, 29 degrees Capricorn, and Neptune retrograde at 27 degrees of Pisces. At the same time, Venus is conjunct Mars. Now, Mars is not actually part of this yod. There's a very tight orb when it comes to a yod, no more than 2 degrees. So all pieces of the yod need to be within 2 degrees of each other. I bring this up because Venus in Leo rules our self-expression, our confidence, our self-worth, our enjoyment, our pleasure, our romance. Venus is, to me, in many ways, while she doesn't rule Leo, there's a heightened sense of her wanting to experience all of the higher vibrations of what she desires. She wants to have the most romantic love out loud, to eat good food, to experience life out loud. And here, with this, these blind spots, I think of a quincunx or an inconjunction as a blind spot. It's a spot where I can't fully see where the direction is taking me, or I can't understand the other person's point of view. There's a disconnect here because the planets are just far enough apart where they can't quite grasp each other. So here we see Pluto offering transformation, and yet Venus can't quite see the value or how this will work for her within this dynamic, meaning this yod. And Neptune is also here encouraging Venus to look at where she may inadvertently be overly compromising, overly faithful, overly willing to give up her power to the situation, the people, the dynamics where Leo is in your chart. Neptune is escapism and spirituality. Neptune is fantasy and delusion. And at the same time, Neptune is a planet that without our ability to connect emotionally to what we want to manifest, we will have a very challenging time constantly trying to do it through our brain. So I believe that this finger of God, this finger of fate, is offering us an opportunity to take the information that we garnished in the 7 months that we had full moons at the Cancerian degree, starting in October 2022 and going all the way to April 2023. The full moons literally started in Aries and went all the way through the lower hemisphere of the Zodiac, and the degree, 16th degree, stopped at the Libra degree. And I bring this up because the full moons feel like it was a series of epiphanies, a series of conclusions, a series of illuminations that are allowing me at this moment to plant seeds for my future. But it's going to require me to be very, very brave in those choices, to be brave in my willingness to trust what I cannot see with my eyes, but what I feel with my heart, Neptune. It's going to ask me to dig deep into my personal psychology, my personal structures, the fears that I have, the trepidations that I have, and what am I going to do about those things? Am I going to let them stop me, or am I going to let them be the device that Spirit uses to empower me as I walk bravely into this new dynamic of my life? Venus being in Leo for 4 months total. She's been in there about a month now, I think, and she's going to go retrograde on the 23rd of July. She will stay retrograde, I believe, until the first week of September. Then she'll move forward again, and she will move on into Virgo. So this yod is going to happen not once, but twice, because it happens first when she goes to that pinnacle point before her retrograde, meaning Venus, then it retrogrades back. And then when we come back again, Pluto will not have moved very far, and neither will have Neptune. Neptune will stay at 27 degrees. And I believe, I didn't quite check what will happen when Venus moves forward again, but I believe that Pluto is only at 28 degrees, 29 degrees at that time. So this finger of God is an opportunity for all of us to take this karmic moment in time, this fork in the road. This is where I believe karma reveals itself in the form of our choices. It's not you're a bad person, so your bad things are going to happen to you. Spirit does not work that way. Our choices indicate a focal point. And in this yod, the focal point is Venus at 28 degrees Leo. Now, here, this is important because at the same time, the new moon is in an opposition to a point in this yod, which is Pluto. So here is this new moon planting the seeds in a feeling of unsuredness, in a feeling of, if I take care of myself, if I nurture myself, the Cancerian things rule home, hearth, the maternal energy, the intuitive, the self-nurturing. Now, I can't help but feel like Venus is in alignment with this idea. Venus is in alignment because she enjoys good food and she enjoys warm, cozy blankets and creating a very inviting experience within the home, within her own personal space. Now, Neptune rules Pisces and Venus is exalted in Pisces. So while we're seeing these two planets in a blind spot, I believe the blind spot is a lack of self-worth, a potential of feeling insecure about something, feeling that if you win in your dreams, you'll lose in some other category of your life. And this is where Pluto's sextile to Neptune is very favorable, because it really takes Pluto's deep psychological rebirth and it aligns it to a much more powerful co-creator within Neptune's energy. Neptune rules the house where our ancestral pattern exposes itself. It's the 12th house. It's the house where we want to commune more clearly and succinctly with spirit. So I think this is going to be very powerful because Pluto is also making a square to the nodes, the karmic points, the emotional dynamics. The moon rules our emotions. Our emotions dictate our manifestations. They dictate our actions and they drive our thoughts. So as we are aware that we are sitting at this tense moment, a square for me is always an awareness of a habitual pattern or the feeling of a reactionary behavior versus an evolved version of myself that I want to root into my physical experience. So we have this push-pull going on with the Pluto energy while Pluto is making a blind spot to Venus. So what if Pluto is saying to Venus, you know, you've evolved more than you realize. You know, you're capable of making more money than you ever have before in your life. But a part of that is going to start to be telling the new story versus the old story. And that's where we see Mars on the day of this new moon its conjunct Venus, and it's making an opposition to Saturn at 6 degrees, Saturn retrograde at 6 degrees of Pisces. This is a growing opposition between Saturn ruling my history, ruling my historic authorities in my life, ruling my fears, my trepidations, my uncertainty, a certain feeling of having to do something versus getting to do it. And Mars here in Virgo, I believe in this opposition is asking us all to say, where have we enslaved ourselves to a certain line of thought or a certain action that has been expected of us? And at this point, it may not be aligned to what we want to experience for ourselves. While Mars is not technically in this yod, Mars is chirping in Venus's ear while Venus is being has this, I kind of picture Venus with Neptune and Pluto making like a blind spot, a spot I can't quite see. I can't align to it. I don't quite relate to it. There's a sense of anxiety attached to it. Like what's going on here? Now that's playing to the new moon in Cancer, starting to trust that if I'm feeling some sort of unusual feeling, looking out, something's going on that I can't see with my eyes, I learn how to slow down and observe as spirit brings a situation, a comment, a dynamic into my experience that then inspires me into the next action that brings me closer and closer to the experiences I want to live versus the experiences I have been yearning to live. We see during this new moon that the new moon is making a trine to Neptune. So while this is the darkest phase of the moon, this trine to Neptune is encouraging us even more to close our eyes and to feel with our heart, to feel with a new sense versus an old sense, a new story versus an old story. it's very easy to default into the old story while you attempt to tell a new story. And as you give life to the new story, the awareness of the default can give you the patience to understand the process, which is also Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo is going to want to move very quickly. That's feels very clear to me. But at the same time, when it starts that opposition to Saturn, it makes me feel like I want to get over my history, the issues that have constantly challenged me. And that's part of what a yod is. A yod in a person's natal chart represents a point of intensity and a unique opportunity for your particular soul to walk through certain experiences that in the physical feel challenging and feel intense, and yet at the same time, they offer you a spiritual awareness that breaks a karmic cycle of lack, scarcity, a lack of anything, from love to money to resources to whatever you choose, whatever rocks your world. And this is very powerful, because a week from now or so, about the 23rd, the nodes are going to change signs into the Aries and Libra axis. The South Node will go into Libra, which will really put a spotlight on relationships that are no longer aligned and ask us to be egoless as they shift in our lives. And then the North Node in Aries is going to want to implement all the things that we have learned about our own individual perceptions, our desires, our yearnings over the last year or so, and especially through the series of full moons at the Cancer degree. I really think that this is because the 16th degree of Cancer, where we saw the full moons, were illuminating places that we had not taking care of ourselves. We've been overly nurturing other people, where our insecurities stopped us, where we didn't trust our gut, where we felt challenged. Now, this new moon at the 24th degree is at a more mastered number. It's the third number, the third degree that represents Cancer, which is a mastery of it. I've been through the first two, the 4th and the 16th. Now I'm at the 24th, and this is where I'm mastering this the Piscean degree. And at the same time, Pisces and Cancer are both water signs that are asking me to trust my intuitive inner knowing, and to give myself enough time to allow for an experience to root that into my physical world. So I think this is a really, really powerful time. And Pluto will continue to square the nodes for the rest of 2023. So there'll be a lot of sort of choices coming up that can really lay new pavers, what do you call it? A new walkway for a new path within your life. During the new moon, we'll also see Mercury at 12 degrees Leo, making a square to Jupiter in Taurus at 11 degrees. And I think this is going to be, again, another tense moment between Mercury here could represent my more mundane thoughts, my everyday thoughts, but I was taking it as my everyday life, the people I surround myself with, the people I look to for support, my neighbors, my community, my siblings, my work family. That's in a square with Jupiter, which represents expansion and broad thought and philosophy and business and commerce. And that tension could very well be that you're ready to birth a new version of yourself, and yet you're still unsure how it will play out. Because Jupiter and Mercury, Mercury ruling Gemini, Jupiter ruling Sagittarius, are opposites on the natural zodiac wheel. And at the same time, both elements of the broad and the detailed are required in order to have a complete picture. So the square could very well be where you feel that those around you will maybe rustle up against or feel challenged by your shifting to a broader perspective of yourself, to your new belief system. And yet, as you continue to anchor in your beliefs, you inadvertently and subliminally offer them an invitation to broaden, to open, to expand. And this way you can sort of save yourself from their query, their mercurial query. How are you going to do that? How's that going to work out? And inadvertently stoking fears, because we're feeling Mars's opposition to Saturn. So this could be a moment when you sort of keep your bigger picture to yourself, and work on maybe your vision boards or your meditations or your any of your focus wheel exercises, doing that versus going in and talking about it too much with the people around you who may not be quite where you are, and inadvertently throw a little wet blanket on your hopes and your desires and your expansion. The other thing that I think is very interesting, and it's technically not a yod, because yods, to be a true yod, the three planets involved, the fastest moving planet is supposed to be at the focal point, at the pinnacle of the yod. But we have Neptune and Venus, which were in our previous yod, are in a yod with the south node, with Neptune as the focal point. So here's Neptune at 27 degrees Pisces retrograde, trining the new moon. And at the same time, it's making an inconjunct to the south node at 0 degrees Scorpio. And then we have that same dynamic of the inconjunct to Venus. And the south node and Venus are in a sextile. So while this is technically not a true yod, I believe that it is very influential because it plays to the dynamic of the true yod we saw with Venus at the pentacle. And this is where I think Neptune's focal point is really asking me to sit back and review how much I give life to the human structures that say, I can't, I won't, only special and unique people get to have blah, blah, blah. Because here again, I'm seeing Neptune and Venus as, really good friends. They both, Venus is exalted in Pisces. Neptune and Venus love to hang out together, drink wine, have some good food, talk about everybody in the neighborhood, what's going on with everybody, and to dream, dream, dream. But here with this quincunx, or if you want to call it an inconjunct, we're seeing a blind spot to my beauty, to my creativity, to my shifting into a co-creative dynamic, which allows me to experience my spirituality here on this physical earth. And the south node representing at 0 degrees in Scorpio is very Plutonian here. So we're kind of seeing a similar energy because Pluto was in our first yod. So the south node representing a habit, a place where there is a loss, an erosion of something, and Neptune being in sort of this kind of, it's almost as if it's just right out of my peripheral vision. There's a weird feeling when I see an inconjunct or a quincunx, a feeling like it's just right here, and yet I can't grasp it fully. And so with Scorpio South Node, the tension may be to try to dominate a situation, to try to push your way through it a little bit. And yet Venus is saying, let's try a new tact. Venus is at 28 degrees again, Leo. So she's going to be focused on doing this with more diplomacy, more flair, and having a willingness, I want to say, to let go of whatever has been dominating her, whether it be her fears, other humans, feeling a lack of money, feeling a lack of self-worth, feeling a lack of opportunities or partnerships. I think here with the sextile to the Scorpio South Node, she's kind of saying, uncle, I'm willing to think that there's something better here if I let that go the way it seems to be heading, which is to giving more space between certain things. Now, Venus is the ruler of the South Node as it moves into Libra. And I say that because it's going to move into Libra, as I said, on the 23rd. And at the same time, Venus will be retrograde in Leo. And I think that this is a real opportunity to revisit what you think you want, and then to sort of think about, did I really want that? Or do I want that to prove to somebody else that I am worthy? Do I want that because I want to say to someone else, look at my success? This is what I think is going on with this, my yod number 2, which is a yod, not a yod, because a true yod is a very, very tight and very structured aspect. So overall, I think this new moon is about planting the seeds of co-creation. I think this new moon is about a willingness to look at my own needs as the fuel to support those around me, to be able to express my creativity. And in doing so, I'm offering an invitation to those around me to follow their bliss. And to me, this is the most nurturing energy you can ever give to another human, is to applaud their uniqueness, to allow them their self-expression, and to celebrate their joy. So when you give yourself those things, when you implement those dynamics within your own life, you are doing the same thing for those around you. And I think this is a super, super powerful new moon, because we'll see a full moon in Cancer when we get to the Capricorn season. Usually, I'm going to say December. I don't actually know. Oh, I do have it here. December 26th, we'll see a full moon in Cancer at the 4th degree. And here again, that's the Cancerian degree. So I think what we're going to see is that self-care is caring for others. We're going to see that as we make our own lives a priority and our own joy within the home a priority, we are actually being of greater service to humanity. And as we don't chase love or chase ascension or chase or work too hard at our spirituality, but rather allow and invite in awareness, then we start to see how the contrast works to support us. If we think about a new moon is the direct opposite of a full moon. So we have contrast. The new moon starts new beginnings, and yet it's in the dark, which most people are afraid of the dark. And the full moon we associate with lunatics and chaos, and yet it is the brightest phase of the moon where we can see the most clearly with our eyes. So this here, just the idea of a full moon and a new moon, represents how contrast supports the human experience and how we are being led through a series of astrological dynamics to be aware of our inner voice. And that's why I think the new moon is the darkest phase, and why we look at that and we celebrate that dark phase as a launching pad. So this idea of Cancer and the degrees, and it was 7 full months of full moons at the 16th degree. And that clicked in my head, because the 7 is the Libra energy of peace and harmony and diplomacy, and it's ruled by Venus. And we are in a 7-year, 2023. A lot of the choices that we make today, and one of the most important, is to give ourselves grace, to give ourselves compassion for the structures that were imprinted upon us. And as we become aware of them, it's not about trying to release them, but incorporating them so that that dark spot makes the color in your life pop. That dark spot gives you a focal point to say, no more of that and more of this. So I think this is a very powerful and exciting opportunity. I would suggest that when you look at your natal chart, you not only look where Cancer is, but I would look where Leo is, I would look where Capricorn is, and I would look where Pisces is, because I think all of these are very important focal points as we look at this new moon as an opportunity to implement the finger of God and point it in the direction of our dreams. That's the way I want to put it. All right, everybody, that's it for me for this new moon in Cancer. I will be back and talk about the changing of the nodes. This is going to be another really exciting opportunity for us to understand ourselves a little bit more, to harness the opportunities on this earth plane versus feeling as if we are just jellyfish being pushed around by the tides. All right, that's it for me. If you'd like to book a reading with me, I am available for a chart reading. I'm available for an angel reading, intuitive reading. My information is below. You can reach out to me and I will send you all the particulars on how to do that. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful new moon in Cancer. Take care of yourself, nurture yourself, eat good food, sleep on a soft pillow, and enjoy. I'll see you soon. Peace out.